Entomology, as we all know, it is the branch of biology which deals with the detailed study about insects, their morphology and anatomy, then physiology, behavioral aspects, then their economical importance. In this session, we are going to discuss about the digestive system of insects, the alimentary canal and associated digestive glands. The insect digestive system mainly represented by a tube which is called alimentary canal or gut. The alimentary canal is with the variable diameter. The overall length and then diameter of the alimentary canal depends on the feeding habit of the insects. It extends from the mouth to anus. Then it is supplemented by the alimentary canal is supplemented by a pair of labial or salivary glands. Then gastric caecae, which is the outgrowths of the alimentary canal. This outgrowth will increase the absorptive surface area. Then Malpighian tubules, as we all know, Malpighian tubules are excretory organs of the insects. Then they are also like tubular structures associated with the alimentary canal. In some insects, the alimentary canal is degenerated and digestion occur through the direct absorption by general body surface. So there are some forms in which the digestion occurs through the general body surface. So here you can see the generalized plan or the structure of the alimentary canal of insects. It starts with the mouth, then ends with the anus. It is a long tube with the different characteristic portions. You can see here pharynx, esophagus, then salivary glands, then crop, then gizzard or proventriculus, then midgut portion, then Malpighian tubules associated with the junction of midgut and hindgut, then the last portion, that is hindgut. Now we are going to discuss in detail about the alimentary canal of the insects. It is short in length in primitive insects. In complex insects or in advanced forms, it is enormously elongated. For example, in the case of Diptera, mosquitoes, in their body you can see a very long alimentary canal. Longer in phytophagous insects than carnivorous type. So the length and the diameter of the alimentary canal depends on the feeding habit of the insects. If the insect is phytophagous, then the alimentary canal will be very long. The plant eating variety will have a more lengthy alimentary canal. Then carnivorous type, when compared to phytophagous type, their alimentary canal is much shorter. Then the structure of the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal can be divided into three major regions. Foregut, then about their embryonic origin, they are ectodermal in origin. Then midgut, this is the second portion which is also ectodermal in origin. Then the hindgut portion which is endodermal in origin. So it is a representation. Here you can see a representation of different types of the structure of different types of alimentary canal that exist in insects. The first picture, that is A, it represents the alimentary canal of dragonfly larva, Odonatids larva alimentary canal. Then the second B, it represents the cockroach alimentary canal. Then C, red cotton bug. Then D, a lepidopteran larva, butterflies and moths. Their alimentary canal will be like this. Then E, beetle's alimentary canal will be like this one. Then last, housefly. Okay, here based on this picture, you can have an idea about their overall architecture of alimentary canal. The alimentary canal's overall shape, their diameter, and overall length depends on the feeding habit of the insects. In different insect orders, we can find different types of feeding habits. So, based on the feeding habit, their alimentary canal will be modified. Now, we are going to discuss about the different portions of the alimentary canal. The first portion is the foregut. It starts with the oral cavity or mouth. It is differentiated into different portions. The first portion is pharynx, then esophagus, then crop, then gizzard. This based on this diagram, we can differentiate these regions. Pharynx, it is the portion associated with the mouth region. Then this particular region is responsible for the engulfing of food materials. Then esophagus, this portion is an area for passive conduction of food particles. Then there is a enlarged portion which is known as crop. This particular portion is known for temporary storage of the food particles. Then we have a grinding area which is called proventriculus or gizzard. Now let us discuss in detail about the different portions of the foregut. All structures differ structurally and functionally. Pharynx. Pharynx is the first portion which comes in the buccal cavity. It is provided with the dilator muscles. The main function of the dilator muscles is to push food towards the esophagus region. Their contraction will bring the passage of food from the mouth to the esophagus. In sucking insects, it is modified into a sucking pump. Then the second portion, that is esophagus, it is a seat for food conduction. It is a tubular portion which is meant for passive conduction of food material. Then crop, it is ill defined in some forms. In some forms, we can see well developed crop there. For example, in the case of Dictyoptera and Orthoptera, the crop is well defined and it is very enlarged in structure. It is a sac-like structure. It is meant for the temporary storage of food particles, food reservoir like area. Then proventriculus or gizzard. As I said earlier, it is an area which is meant for grinding of food particles. It is well developed in insects feeding on solid food material. In insects having solid food materials, their mandibles are not enough to make the food particles into small fragments or pieces. So this activity is actually done by the proventriculus or gizzard. The inner layer is arranged into teeth-like structures. So the tentacles or the hard teeth-like structures of the inner layer of the proventriculus or gizzard will grind the food materials. The foregut has the basic histology composed of 6 layers. When we analyze histology of the foregut, we can see 6 layers. The innermost layer, which comes in contact with the food particles, it is called a cuticular lining or intima. So there is a cuticular lining present on the innermost layer. Then the second layer, which is called the epithelial layer, which that particular portion possesses epithelial cells. These epithelial cells are responsible for the digestion process. Then there is a basement membrane for the attachment of epithelial cells. Then after that basement membrane comes the muscles. First one, longitudinal muscle layer. Then comes the second layer, that is the circular muscle layer. Then the coelom part, that is the outermost peritoneum, the mesodermal lining of the canal, that is the outermost peritoneum. So these are the 6 layers of the alimentary canal, foregut portion of the alimentary canal portion. Innermost cuticular lining, intima, then epithelial layer, basement membrane, the longitudinal muscle layer, the circular muscle layer, then the outermost peritoneum. Then the second portion of the alimentary canal, that is the midgut. The gizzard opens into the midgut through a specific valve which is known as cardiac valve. So the cardiac valve will regulate the flow of food materials from the foregut to midgut. It occurs as a straight tube in primitive insects, but in advanced insects it is highly coiled and very lengthy. So advanced insects possess some sort of complex feeding habits. So this complexity in length and coiling, it depends on the feeding habit of the insect. It is modified into 2 or 4 chambers. In some insects, the midgut is somewhat a closed sac. This particular portion is provided with the gastric caeca in adult beetles. As I said earlier at the beginning portion, gastric caeca is a structure associated with the alimentary canal, which is like outgrowths or tubular outgrowths. These structures will provide extra digestive surface area to the alimentary canal so that the digestion process, absorption and the release of the absorption by the release of digestive enzymes will be very easy. Overall, the overall surface area of the digestive tract will increase due to the provision of gastric caeca. So based on this diagram, you can differentiate the midgut portion of different types of insects. They are variously modified based on their feeding habit. Then the histology of the midgut. The wall is composed of 5 layers instead of 6 layers, which is present in the foregut region. The layers are the innermost columnar epithelium. Here the innermost intima or cuticular layer is absent. So the layer that comes in contact with the food particle is the innermost columnar epithelial cells. Then comes the basement membrane, then circular muscle layer, then longitudinal muscle layer. Note that the arrangement of muscles is just reverse of the arrangement that is present in the foregut region. Then the outermost peritoneal membrane. The internal cuticular layer is absent. Then the arrangement of muscle is just the reverse of foregut. This is the main difference in terms of histology of foregut and midgut. Then we have different types of epithelial cells present in the midgut. First category is columnar cells. As the name implies, the columnar cells are tall cells with the apical microvilli present. Their apex or apical region, their anteriormost end is provided with the numerous finger-like projections. These finger-like projections will add extra surface area to the cells, thereby creating more surface area for absorption and digestion. They also possess a mucopolysaccharide coating on the microvilli. The lateral walls are straight and folded. The lateral walls of the columnar cells, the sides of the columnar cells are straight and unfolded. There will be no microvilli or uh, that type of foldings present on the sides. Then the basal wall is folded. The base, the posterior portion of the cell is somewhat folded. Then the microvilli contains endoplasmic reticulum. The rest of the cell is occupied with the cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex, and membranous vesicles. This particular cell is responsible for the digestion process. Then another important cell present in the midgut region is the globulate cell. This particular cell is responsible for the excretion of potassium. They are found scattered among the columnar cells. This particular cell has got a flask-shaped body. That is, anterior end is somewhat tubular, then the middle portion is somewhat bulky. The cell contains a little cytoplasm and basally situated nucleus. The nucleus is distributed on the posterior most portion of the cell. The basal plasma membrane is folded just like the columnar cells. The flask-shaped cell opens into the midgut lumen. So, at the anterior portion or where this particular cell comes in contact with the food particle, there will be an opening. So, it is somewhat a sac-like cell. This particular cell, as I said earlier, it is concerned with the excretion of potassium. So, these are the pictures of epithelial cells, columnar epithelial cells. These are very tall cells with the apical microvilli which possess mucopolysaccharide coating. This mucopolysaccharide coating will prevent the abrasion of the cells due to hard food particles. Then you can see numerous cellular organelles arranged in the cytoplasm of the cell. The nucleus is somewhat centrally located. Then the base of the cell is folded. It is attached to the basal membrane, basement membrane. So this is the diagram of the globulate cell. This cell possesses a flask-shaped body. The anterior portion is tubular and the middle and the posterior portion is somewhat bulged. So it is also this cell possesses a central lumen. This lumen opens into the midgut portion, or this lumen makes contact with the food particles of the midgut region. Then endocrine cells, as the name implies, they are associated with the release of certain chemical substances. They are secretory cells. They are variously shaped, fixed on the basal lamina and opens into the lumen, basement membrane. They attach to the basal membrane and opens into the lumen of the midgut. The apical end has a tuft of microvilli, just like the columnar cells. They possess granules in the cytoplasm along with the Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum, and a few mitochondria. Next modification or structure associated with the midgut region of the alimentary canal of insects is the peritrophic membrane. The epithelial layer of midgut will secrete a chitinous envelope. This chitinous envelope is called a peritrophic membrane. When we analyze the histology of the midgut region, there is no cuticular lining on the innermost portion of the midgut region. So the epithelial cells will make a hard contact with the food particles. There is a chance. This chance is alleviated by this peritrophic membrane, again created by the epithelial cells. This particular layer will envelop food content and protects the naked epithelial cells from abrasion by hard food particles. There will be no mucus secreted in insects. There is no such cells associated with the production of mucus. So the peritrophic membrane or the chitinous envelope created by the epithelial layer of the midgut will envelop the hard food content and protect the naked epithelial cells from abrasion by hard food particles. In fluid feeding insects, it is absent. The food material is not that much hard, it is fluid in nature, so there will be no need of peritrophic membrane in the midgut region. This particular region is permeable to digestive juice and products of digestion. Then filter chamber, it is a modification associated with the alimentary canal of insects. It is formed by the fusion of the anterior hindgut with the posterior or anterior midgut or end of foregut. It is exclusively present in only one order, which is Homoptera, occurs in Homoptera insects. It facilitates quick removal of water from the lumen. This particular structure is for removing excess water from the alimentary canal so that the digestive juice or the digestive enzymes will not exist as diluted. So the concentrated digestive juice will act on the food particles. It avoids the dilution of gastric enzymes and hemolymph. The water passes directly from the anterior midgut to the hindgut along with the osmotic gradient. The posterior midgut receive concentrated fluid suitable for enzymatic activity. In insects, the digestion is mainly done by the midgut region. So, due to the presence of this particular filter chamber, excess fluid or water present in the food materials can be removed. Here you can see the various types of filter chamber present in Homoptera. Here the association is between the foregut region and hindgut region. In this particular model, you can see this is the foregut region. This particular portion make direct contact with the hindgut region. When the food is more diluted, water will pass directly from the foregut region to the hindgut, so that the enzymatic activity and also the hemolymph not get diluted by the water present in the food particles. In this type, the modification is somewhat different. Here also you can see it is different from the first and second variety. Then the last portion of the alimentary canal, that is the hindgut. The midgut opens into the hindgut through a specific valve called a pyloric valve. Just like the uh, valve present in between the foregut region and the midgut region, there is a valve between the midgut and the hindgut. This valve is called a pyloric valve. Then Malpighian tubules can be seen at the junction between the midgut and hindgut. This particular structure, these tubular structures are responsible for the excretion. The hindgut is differentiated into the first portion, which is called ileum, then rectum, the final portion. The rectum is an enlarged sac and absorbs water from the fecal matter. So the hindgut is mainly responsible for some sort of digestion at a minimal level, and it is mainly concerned with the reabsorption of water conservation. In histology, the hindgut resembles the midgut with some modifications. The cuticular lining is very thin. Then the longitudinal muscles are outer. The circular muscles are weakly developed. Then the epithelium forms thick cushions of rectal parts. Then that's all about the different portions of the alimentary canal. Now we have to discuss about the nerve innervations of the gut. The nerves that control the overall working of the alimentary canal. The foregut is innervated by the stomoidal sympathetic nervous system. So the in foregut region there are nerves associated with the stomoidal sympathetic nervous system. Then the hindgut receives nerves from the last abdominal ganglia. The midgut also receives nerves from last abdominal ganglia. So the last abdominal ganglia is very important. It controls both the midgut and hindgut. The nerves are mostly motor nerves controlling the activity of the muscles of the gut. So these nerves will control the contractions of circular and longitudinal muscles present in the alimentary canal. Due to the contractions and relaxations of the concerned muscles, the movement of food particles within the alimentary canal will occur. Sensory receptors are also present in the pharynx of the insects. In some forms there are sensory receptors associated with the pharyngeal region. Then trachation. The gut is richly supplied with the segmental trachea. They supply oxygen and provide mechanical support to the gut. So there are two activities associated with the trachea. Primarily they supply oxygen, or they are associated with the gaseous exchange process. Then they also provide mechanical support to the gut region. The proper alignment of the alimentary canal within the body. Highly concentrated on the crop region, then midgut and rectum. Midgut is the main portion which is concerned with the digestion. Then crop is the reservoir portion. Then rectum is the water reabsorption portion. So these three portions are they possess high network of trachation. They possess a numerous tubular trachea. Then the salivary glands. A pair of lobulated glands located on the thoracic region and associated with the labium. So that's why they are also known by the name labial glands. They are lobulated structures located on the thoracic region. Then they are associated with the labium, which is the mouth part of the insect. So that's why they are also known by the name labial glands. The glands opens interiorly into their respective ducts, which unite to form a common medial salivary duct. The median salivary duct opens into the preoral cavity between labium and hypopharynx. In salivary glands, there are numerous secretory cells. These secretory cells communicate through certain ducts. These ducts of different lobules of the salivary gland unite to form a common medial salivary duct. The median salivary duct then opens into the preoral cavity, or the cavity which is present inside the mouth between labium and hypopharynx. Then the saliva, which is the digestive fluid secreted by the salivary gland, contain certain enzymes, mainly amylase, then invertase, sometimes protease, lipase, but rarely cellulase. The major composition is amylase, then also possess invertase, then sometimes there will be a lesser quantity of proteases responsible for the breakdown of peptides or proteins. Then lipases, breakdown of lipids. Then the salivary fluid rarely contains cellulase. Cellulase is the digestive enzyme which is responsible for the digestion of cellulose. Wood eating insects. Then Lepidoptera and Hymenoptera larvae secrete silk protein. They secrete silk protein for cocoon formation. In blood sucking insects, the saliva also will contain certain anticoagulants which is injected into the body of the host so that the blood will not coagulate while sucking out. Structurally and functionally, the salivary glands differ among insects and also based on their food habits. So there will be different types of structural modifications associated with the salivary glands. This modifications depends on their feeding habit.